The journey to making Nigeria great again is what we are about. And of course, it behoves the government of the day to find lasting solutions to the problems bedeviling the country. And that's where the president, spoke about funding of the 2025 budget, where he said the government will no longer borrow to fund the 2025 budget domestically, as in borrowing domestically. But again, we look at the national debt that the country, has acquired. You may say wrongly. You may also say, well, by virtue of implications that we're faced with in terms of infrastructural decay, and of course the dwindling price of the oil. Well, we have about 121 trillion naira debt upon us. And of course, that's a big challenge, in spite of the fact that we continue to service our national debt. And what that, amounts to is another big challenge where we can only find a way to, reduce it. But we look at the non-oil revenues that has been generated in 8 months. The government has had some improvements with about 40.5% in the non-oil revenues. And some have said, well, why don't you utilize what you've gotten or acquired instead of embarking on further loans? Why the president said that we're no longer going to fund the budget by borrowing? There was also a fresh seeking of $1.75 billion from the World Bank. And some have said, well, it's like speaking from the two sides of the mouth, where the president said he's no longer going to, borrow to fund the 2025 budget. But again, we're looking at seeking a fresh loan of $1.75 billion. But well, how do we move from this level? And what the non-borrowing policy of the federal government is all about? Some say this could be an economic gamble. Others say, well, it's a bold step by the president. Joining me to discuss this, I have an array of distinguished guests, and starting from the studio, I have just at my immediate left, the former SSA to the governor of Edo State on youth and community development, Comrade Collins Osagai Amadi. Thanks for coming.
Philip, good morning. Thank you for having me. Viewers at home, good morning.
And next to him is a legal practitioner and, of course, a public affairs analyst, Emmanuel Obakpolo. Thanks for coming.
Pretty good morning to Nigerians. Good morning, Philip.
Well, we have other distinguished personalities via Zoom, and we have Don Etiosa Igebo. Good morning to you, Don Etiosa.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right. Well, I can't hear you, but let's see how that goes. But I believe you responded to that. Let's quickly get to you. Ibrahim Momo, a lecturer from Ambrose Allen University, political economist. Good morning, Ibrahim. Are you there? Well, the moment we're able to get connectivity, Ibrahim Momo will be hitting the screen. Let's quickly hit the ground on looking at what we have here. Ever since the president assumed office, there's been one headline or the other. But again, it's been from one borrowing to another. We keep having issues as regards borrowing. And it came to a head where the president said, well, the country's government is no longer going to borrow. We have some good, statements from financial, treasury to show that we've been hitting the ground running. And of course, the non-oil revenues, we have 40.5%, increase. Some have said that these were all bragging by the president, because after saying that, it went back to start seeking $1.75 billion. So how do you measure that?
Thank you very much. I had to laugh when you said, after saying that, he started seeking for borrowing. But however, I want to disabuse your mind from that, because one, even if there were documents on ground before that, that has shown, but we have not also heard the Senate tell us that Nigerian federal government or the executive has written to them for fresh borrowing. Not until we hear from the Senate, the hollow chamber, we cannot continue to listen to some statement from distractors. But however, I want to thank the president, because the president had from the beginning have told us he was coming for a long-term deal that will sustain Nigeria. He was not coming to paint wash. He was not coming to come and assume and just to, in a hurry, make the people smile and when nothing is there. He was going to help to rebuild the economy from scratch. And the benefits thereof we have started to see in one way or the other. Now he has told us domestically the issue of borrowing is forgone for the very now. We hope that subsequent administration will consolidate, because now
for this budget domestically,
it simply means before they finish running this budget, there will also be more input to making sure the 2026 budget we do not pray to go back.
Okay,
so we cannot say we are not borrowing this year, even when the world economy is completely scattered by those who control the world economy themselves. They are the ones that have scattered the world economy even more than it is right now. Trump has scattered the world economy with hike of tariff from different corners that has affected the global world. Take it or leave it.
It gives room for the president to borrow.
No, I am coming, because when you don't have a statistic that you can consolidate on, you can end up borrowing at any will, because you probably have a budget you are working with. You say, oh, for this fiscal year, this is how we are going to run the economy. And before you know what's happening, the world economic fails you. You will not have a choice. You have to borrow to consolidate. But however, the president has said we will no more borrow. Basically, from the local banks. And for local bank not to be invaded by the government, it means there will be opportunity for SMEs to grow, the local businesses, the local economy, the ordinary business like you and I do operate here. Because you know that even the president has said that I have prayed that we have opportunity, or he hears us, and go further by begging these banks and those financial houses that the federal government themselves are empowering through the central bank to allow the small and medium scale enterprise to truly have access to seeking low percent interest rate from these local banks. Because the local banks are even more egg bank on the small businesses from growing. Because they believe in giving more to the bourgeois. Probably that is where they get their kickback. Because you cannot understand why when a small business want to seek for assistance, it becomes problem. Because even if you are not borrowing, as it were, federal government allows the local bank to grow so that small business can also grow. At the end of the day, will those small business have opportunity? No, that is what we have seen for a very long time. They must check these local banks, how they operate, and these microfinances, how they operate. Their interest rate many a time is killing. Even if you want to dare to go and borrow, I have a small business I'm running. I have made an attempt up to 3 times to seek for better money to consolidate on my business. But I end up running back because the collateral, the thing that is even left is just my kidney. And beyond that, and the interest rate is so alarming that you cannot ask yourself, am I not going to go and end up having stroke if you borrow this money? Even after dropping those collateral, how do you manage the interest rate? When we say there are small businesses that intend to grow and you are giving them over 75% or some call it 45% interest rate. The 45%, if you take your own biro and calculate it yourself, is over 100% increase. Even you cannot get 1 naira as your gain from that your business for 15 years just to pay a loan of 4 years. So you run into deficit. So the president means well, and I'm so happy, but they must move further by helping the small scale business whom they are going to leave the local banks for, in order for them to genuinely access these loans and grow.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that was a very healthy digression anyways, but let's look at what your bite is all about. The president has said that he's not going to fund the budget with the domestic, borrowing. But again, what's your bite on this, looking at the otherwise?
I don't know why you refer to the comment he just made as healthy digression. The man is a gambler. The highest gang of gamblers in the world is the president, his team, and APC sympathizers. The Bible puts it this way: a borrower is a slave to the lender. taken from that line. This president, between 2003 and 2007, fought then President Olusegun Obasanjo when, after fighting the international community, asking them to forgive Nigeria her debt, now wanted to take steps to borrow. This president, then governor of Lagos State, went haywire and began to shout. In 2012, this president fought the then President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan for going to borrow. Today, this president is the chief borrower in the world. And he has put Nigeria in a state of ridicule. And you see the APC sympathizers will come and tell you that this president is the sinner sent that they have. Let me tell you, how is Nigeria economy today? How is the president paddling the ship of this country? To what direction are we going? They have not been able to tell us the direction. They will tell you that, oh, the president never said it was an immediate or interim, but the president did say that it was a perpetual. It was for the future. What future lies for Nigerians?
But in 8 months, there has been an increase in non-oil revenue to a point of 40.5%.
Let me tell
How do you agree that?
Let me tell you, with all this increase, they are telling us, all this utopian increase, they are telling us. The president did say some time ago that they make nothing less than 1 trillion naira from subsidy. Where are the monies? And he keeps borrowing.
Don't forget, the money is not only at the level of the president, but also subnational governments.
Who is in charge? Well, when you tell me subnational government, and the president once upon a time told us that we should go and be asking our governors, who is the person distributing the money to the governors? That's the question. When you, as a president, you see that the governors are not making use of the money, is that not why the governors are now jobless to the extent that they go to wave the president, they bid the president goodbye at the airport when he's traveling out, they bid him welcome when he's coming in? Is that not the reason? Because they don't have job, they have much money in their pockets, in their bank, in their offices. So what is left for them to do? It's left for them to now be bidding him goodbye. Psychophancy. And that is what you see with APC sympathizers.
No,
they tell you that all is well.
Forget about
now, if you look at
Labour sympathizer and ADC sympathizer.
Emmanuel Bakolo has the floor, please.
No, he's also a sympathizer of APC.
Please don't suffocate my guest.
Okay, then.
Go ahead.
He cannot suffocate me. I will suffocate him.
He knows. Do a test microphone.
Now, when you look at the degree of borrowing, the president told us that, in his language, I want to use his language, that they can no longer borrow locally to fund the extant budget. Before now, did they tell us that they were borrowing monies to fund the budget locally? Did they tell us? Why are the banks standing with one leg? I don't want to mention names. One of the banks have already taken them to court. They are just there. They are not existing. These are the attributes that kills banks in Nigeria. Now, looking at the budget, what is left from the budget? Are they telling us? Are they telling Nigerians that this budget is so trillion? We've spent so amount so far for the past 2 years. That so amount is left with. Are they telling Nigerians?
Okay.
You cannot see any form of transparency with this crop of leaders we have today.
Okay.
But yet, they keep telling me, see, you cannot run a country on dreams. Unfortunately, every day we wake up to hear fairy tales told to Nigerians, like that in Alice in Wonderland. When you tell fairy tales to idiots, and you assume that Nigerians are now so properly so called, wherein you can wake up any morning to tell them anything because of your interest in 2027.
Okay.
That is a state of hugabuga. Let me tell you, I do not anticipate anything better with this crop of leaders we have.
Let's get to you, Etiosa. I know you speak objectively, despite the fact that you may also have some points politically, but let's get your bite, because the government of the day has been embarking from one loan to another since assumption of office. I don't know if you can hear me. Now, do you
Yes,
see
I can
this
hear you.
as
Can you hear me?
really faring well for Nigerians? Most especially now that he said he's not going to borrow locally to fund the 2025 budget, but again, having
Yeah.
a fresh seeking of $1.75 billion. Does this make sense for Nigeria?
Yes, definitely. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Yes, well, I think the president is actually in the right direction. Sometimes there's this saying that nothing goes comes out of Nazareth. There is many a times you tell an idiot something, but you have to always explain it to someone who has no clue about what you're talking about, the meaning of that very comment. I think Mr. Bakbala is a little bit unfair to the presidency because at the end of the day, you have to borrow internationally and borrow locally to fund budgets. In the last 2 years, the president has restructured the financial, um, platform of this country. A government and an institution that inherited with so much lapses. Everybody knows that in this country, in the last 40, 50 years, there've never been no implementations of fiscal and monetary policy, whereby you spend money when you don't even have it, and you borrow money with bad loans attributes. The thing is not about taking loans, it's about how you take the loan. For example, you can take a loan if you have a car that is worth £1 million, take a loan of say 1.5 million, and it pays back the loan for like a year, and you've got 200,000 left. And some of the loan, small prints can say, well, if you can't pay back the 200,000, you lose the car. While some other negotiations with the loans can tell you, well, if you're owing 200,000 and you don't have a means to pay, you can practically sell the car and pay off the loans. So what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is that I don't understand why Barrister Abakbolo is so negative about some of the facts or information that he may not have about the current government. This is not politics. We are talking pure economy. This is pure economics.
Okay, okay.
If the country at this point can pay back or make more money from non-oil produce, it means that diversification of economy is already taking its toll because of the policies of this government. I'm sure he realizes that the state government are no longer borrowing money. They've practically all cleared their debts, the debts that are very difficult for them to manage and run capital projects. As it is today, if you're not borrowing from the local bank, which is another means of borrowing money, it's a relief, a very huge relief. It means that the presidency policy are working in the direction at which they should go. And then a lot of the things to do with the oil export and all the business engagement with international communities always has something to do with borrowing and funding certain aspects of government. And the man comes here as the president of this country for the first time in almost 50 years to tell you that there's no longer borrowing from the local banks, which gives reliefs to the local operators to borrow more money and make the economy more credit, prone economy, and which is what Collins is referring to. And speaking about some of the challenges where the president should also intervene, I think the country has made tremendous progress. However, I think Mr. Bakbole is very much aware that the president has paid off the IMF bad loans. He has paid off the World Bank bad loans. All these are economic policies and application of methodology that will help to take you away from years of decay, of directionlessness, government, and those who he wishes to come on board that has no clue how governments run. So to me, I'm very, very pleased. I'm very happy. I'm happy that Rome was not built in a day. Whatever that we've suffered now with the world economic crisis and the war in other places
Okay.
has happened over the years, and we've felt the bite with the issue of oil subsidy.
Okay, I
The
can
oil
understand.
subsidy has worked very well. Like in
Okay.
Edo State, the government is getting more money in Edo. That is why they are fixing 20 kilometer of the Saple road with concrete and eventual tying of the road. All this
Okay.
while, if the presidency was not
Mr.
giving them
Tessa,
that
I'll
money,
come
how
back
could
to
they
you.
spend that money? I'm
Mr.
sure
Tessa,
Mr.
I'll come
Bakwala
back to
understands.
you.
Can
I
you
will
hear
come
me?
back to you. You spoke well, but you failed to tell us what the loans that the federal government has been taking so far, what it has been judiciously used for. You failed to tell us that. In as much as is smooth talk you made, but I'll be coming back to you to tell us what this loans so far taken by the federal government has been judiciously used for this day. In the long run, the pendulum will swing back to you, Etiosa Gebo. Let's quickly take your bite. Etiosa Gebo, to my mind, failed to tell us what the federal government loans, are being judiciously used for. This is a government that Nigerians have been yearning for to, take right decisions to help Nigerians. Now, we look at the fuel subsidy removal. Taking money, some have said it's like taking money from the people and enriching those who are already rich. Now, how do you see government's, loans being expended?
Thank you very, very much. What the president, if we say, anyway, federal government is federal government, or presidency is presidency. I don't want to dwell with previous government. You know that even since this president came on board, he has not actually borrowed more than once, but he has made application like twice. The one you will
application
agree,
like twice?
yes.
Are you sure?
Sure, sure.
No,
International borrowing. I am coming now. Even at that, you heard the president when we were talking a few days ago had said, even right now, we now have a face and a new face internationally, economically.
Well, we've been having recurring borrowings.
I am coming, sir. I am coming. When I drop, you can make your references. Now, that simply means he is very convinced of what my friend and brother Igebo talked about when he said, if the president had put the armor of pride and helped to pay our debt relief internationally, it's an honor. And now we have now come to say, okay, even good if he borrows. There were a lot of things and deficit on ground that he needed to quickly continue and consolidate at the level of physical project. You talk about the Coastal Road, for example. The Coastal Road project was initiated by him, kicked off by him. And as a time, we know they have gone up to 45% of that project.
But what's the viability of that? Because if you are talking about the coastal roads, what about our other roads? Now, some have said that does that not amount to wastage or misplaced priority when we have our roads that link states abandoned and then you are focusing on coastal roads? Is that not another avenue to, misappropriate funds?
Now, we have said before now, can't we have one axis to which many states can connect, and economy can move faster, and interrelations can be well traced? Now, if you want to go to River State, straight from Lagos, you don't need to come through Edo, you don't need to go through, and you can then from there connect as many states. You can't compare it.
But not abandoning the roads that link states.
They are not abandoned.
That should have been our first priority.
No, they can't be abandoned. Do you know why I say they are not abandoned? At every fiscal year or fiscal budget, none of these federal roads are either be dilapidated or need to be overhauled that do not reflect in the budget. So it's not left for the citizenry to put either the ministers or those in charge to do the implementation on their toes, to making sure those things are done.
Don't forget their sins are always forgiven because they are within the party.
We cannot, and then when they are failing, it's not about party matter, it's about who you have asked to represent you. You must ask a question. Now we must have alternative to things. Now you're not telling me because we have Niger Bridge, creating second Niger Bridge was an offense? No, it's an alternative. If there are issues here, you quickly go the other way. But today, Nigerians from the eastern part of this country are applauding the fact that Buhari gave all his best to second Niger Bridge, and today they are smiling with the effect of the second Niger Bridge. So even if we have 15 coastal roads, it stops nothing, because Nigeria really have what it takes to. Our populations are enormous. We are over 1 billion. If we have a genuine statistics, let's forget about the 200 million statistics they are talking about that will never read. Now, we need more of this. Now, if you now go further, the president's initiative of saying, oh, no more borrowing, it does not just end in no more borrowing. Physical projects are beginning to have their tone. All too because of subsidy. It's no more borrowing because subsidy was removed. If when subsidy was there is no government that would have been bold enough to come on board and say they will not borrow, because the huge amount that were being allocated into deficit that was being shared by certain cabals or clique of friends. Now that one is no more there. That no matter, yes, we agree. The oil production has increased over 45% or 60%.
No, 40.5%.
Okay.
The non-oil revenues.
40.5. Good. No, I'm telling the production of oil itself.
Okay.
The production has increased drastically with no more bombing and the non-oil sector, even the IGRO itself, it has improved because there are accountability. You know, Barrister talked about because there's no accountability, there's no transparency. There can't be any transparency more than this.
All right.
A government that can fire a city minister, unlike others who will wait in when they leave government before we start accusing. So this government of the president meets well. Now, for example, we talk about the Dangote, for example, having a soft and a quality environment to assist Nigeria economy to grow. With even the initiative he just brought about, bringing those numbers of trailers to assist in delivering of this raw product to end user.
Okay.
Now you can see among ourselves, Nupeng has come out now as an impediment to these prayers we have prayed all these years, that let's have a way that life can become suburban for people. But the civil society are not fighting now. If it's anything that has to do with government, they will fight. Can't you fight? Can't we ask Nupeng question?
Okay, don't change the course of this. Don't change the course of this.
No, it's still on the economy.
I know. I'll come back to you.
If
I'll come back to you.
Dangote is delivering,
I'll come back to you.
price
I'll
will go
come
down
back to you,
drastically.
please. I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Let's get your bite on this, because some have said, well, the non-oil revenues, diversification of the economy, has much improved, looking at 40.5%. Do you see that as laudable?
Wait, firstly, please, when you listen to APC sympathizers, you know that what they say with respect to the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian state, security-wise, economically-wise, is a mere wishy-wisher, as put by John Owen in his book, Animal Farm. Now, let me tell you something. When you go for loans or you go for borrowings for infrastructural development, when you get those monies, you invest those money into infrastructural development, those infrastructure will be the source wherewith those money will be recouped. That was one of the reasons I faulted the then administration of late President Muhammadu Buhari. You told us you were going for infrastructure, including the Rotimi Amechi, who is jumping now all over like God knows what. They told us they borrowed money to do rail from Abuja to Maradi in Niger Republic. Today, what is the economic value of that rail from Nigeria to Niger Republic? What is the economic value? How do you recoup those monies? And that question begging for answers. Now, today, the president has come up to tell us, like he said coastal highways, that they are having coastal highway, and you quickly interjected by asking him, what about other roads? Why the roads are not okay? Why not put those roads together? For goodness sake, I want to ask the APC sympathizers, the purported coastal highway that they are talking about, that they are using as their defense, as their shield, what is the economic value of the coastal highway? Rumor has it that there is going to be about 29 toll gates on that highway, but they are hiding it from Nigeria, and it will be PPP, as they call it, private-public partnership. Who is the private? Who is the public? Who is the partnership? One man. Now, looking at Nigeria, when you go for credit facility, one, you should be double sure that that credit facility that you have gotten, you will use it judiciously, so that whatever you use it for, we produce that money back to and that will now aid the economy. Economists will argue, will tell you that the situation of Nigeria today economically is zero.
Okay.
And we keep borrowing, the president keeps borrowing, and you hear all manner of defenses from his sympathizers, party members, and those who are immediate beneficiaries of whatever happened. Look, this is a regime that can borrow money to win election. They can take loan on behalf of you and me to win election. And look at the state of Nigeria today. Security-wise, you see the situation. Economically, you see the situation. So all of these monies being borrowed, what are they used for? And I want to tell you, without any iota of that, it's shared among the so-called bourgeois, among the so-called kitchen cabinets. And that is why somebody will tell you that a kilometer of road, the coastal highway, a kilometer, 4 billion naira. Is there any form of transparency and accountability? Even till now, we are asking, how was the contract, the process of the contract of that coastal highway given to the company that is handling it? Somebody posted yesterday on social media and said, oh, this is the other part of the coastal highway at Orong in Akwa Ibom State. And quickly somebody asked, where in Orong? Let us go and investigate it. Before you know, a few minutes later, they removed that something. That is what we are saying. I want to bet you, by the time this coastal highway go to the end of the western part of Nigeria, the road will not move again. Because somebody has succeeded in wanting to be a tyrant, a lord, an emperor of his own region. And you see all the calculations, arithmetically, economically, Nigeria is loose diving. And they don't want to tell us the truth. All they want to do is to begin to play politics. They believe in so much skilled in abracadabra, where they will tell Nigerians one thing and something different is happening. Today, the president just came back from Japan, Brazil. After 5 days, the president has gone back again. That the president is going on a 10 days working vacation, whatever they call it, for another 10 days. Now, all of these monies, at whose expense? Why is the president running away from Nigeria? Why is he avoiding Nigeria? And they told us he built Lagos. And this man seated here is not telling me again that the president is building Nigeria.
All right, thank you.
I will advise him to go and look for David Ballow's poem, Building the Nation.
Thank you,
Let
Emmanuel.
him understand what is going on
Emmanuel.
in Nigeria.
I want to believe that we have established connectivity with Ibrahim Momo, a lecturer from the Abruzali University, a political economist. Good morning once again, Ibrahim. Now, you are an economist, a political economist. I don't know your perception, how it is like, the loans that have been acquired, by the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration so far. Do you see these loans judiciously spent?
Now, thank you very much. I've been here all through the program. So the first point to note is that it's interesting that people play politics with everything. An informed analysis ought to be fact-based, not just politicking or partisanship. I've seen on the studio repeatedly the idea of AP sympathizers. The issues you ask are not about parties. And I think responses ought to be focused on the issues and not partisanship. And so I find it very disturbing that we have that kind of slant around some of the issues that have been raised, which now takes the issues or the meat out of the discussion, and then now become a very funny discussion. The first point is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with borrowing. Nothing. So if the president decided or announced now that, okay, we have our borrowing plan for the year, and we have our revenue target for the year. Having met our revenue target, we do not intend to borrow domestically. It's something that we should applaud. So the idea that everything is politics, we must play politics with everything, when there are fundamental issues of discussion.
Ibrahim, can you hear me, please? Ibrahim, can you hear me? Hear me, please. We don't want to play politics with what we're talking about. like you said, you attacked Emmanuel Bakpalo's projections, but again, I'm attacking yours. I asked you a question, but you are not pulling that through. I said the loans acquired so far, without taking us round the roller coaster ride, what do you see or perceive of this present government's administration in judiciously spending or getting these loans to spend it judiciously for projects? Because we keep seeing loans being requested for, and Nigerians are still faced with, bad roads, debt traps. We see our roads linking the states in unhealthy situations, and you are a citizen. You can't keep a blind eye from the fact that our roads are not working. And now we talk about the coastal roads. What attention is being given to the roads that link the states?
Now, the first point, on the direct question you have asked, is that the loans that we're taking, were they taken entirely for road construction? The answer is a resounding no. That was not the purpose for which all the loans that were taken were taken. That point needs to be made. And it's not exactly correct to also allege that the interstate roads are not receiving attention. That's not so correct. You are journalists and you know for certain that the Benin, Ekpoma, Arochi, Abuja road is receiving attention. ITV has covered that repeatedly. You are journalists, you also know that the Benin Asaba road, these are roads that are within our eye, that within reach, that we can confirm. It's only receiving attention. We also know that recently the governor of Edo also inspected work on the Benin Saple Wari road. So the fact that if we have a challenge with the Benin Lagos road does not now amount to no attention. See, that's a fallacy of safety generalization. It's not something that we should say publicly. Secondly, is that when it comes to the quantum of deaths, I think that our viewers need to also know that these loans are not taken entirely for road construction. In fact, one of the guests in the studio also mentioned the fact that for rail, some of the roads they put to rail infrastructure. Some of these road the loans have gone into health infrastructure, have gone into digital technology, have gone into MSMEs, because Nigeria is increasingly moving education towards self-reliance, education of our students towards self-reliance. And there is a massive effort ongoing to ensure that our students who graduate from schools, secondary and post-secondary, which even university or technical polytechnics, become job providers, not job seekers. That revolution is going on. And some of those initiatives have come through the loans that this government has taken. So I think that it is important that we put things in perspectives. It's very important. Then when it comes to the issue of loans,
Thank you, Ibrahim.
I'm sure, Mr. Phillips, you know that Nigeria is not among the top 50 most indebted public debt in the world.
Thank you, Ibrahim. I'll come back to you, but I'm glad you said recently, and but the assumption of office of the president is not recently. It's been 2 years, and it's expected that we'll also, I mark month by month, quarter by quarter, year in, year out, on the budgets allocated to these projects, the loans being acquired, how are they being measured? So we are looking at all of this in a sweep and not just a recent development. Let's get to you, Etiosai Gebo. I'm asking you some questions. Let's get to you and see what your bite is like in terms of the expenditure so far made under the present government on the loans acquired.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much. Before you stopped in the first conversation, you said that, yes, I spoke smooth or I talked smooth, that I didn't answer your question on what the money is being used for. What is the money being used for? Is the government not running? Of course, the government is running. Go everywhere. You can see federal projects everywhere. The pace might be slow in some area, but there are federal projects going on everywhere. Schools, hospitals, roads, all over the country. So for you to assume that I wasn't speaking to what is using the money for, I think maybe you didn't hear me very well. They actually spoke on it, and there are federal projects going on in the Ministry of Regional Development, Ministry of Works, Aviation. Go and find out. You're a journalist. Then on these issues that you just asked questions about, I think my brother Ibrahim has spoken very well. For you to speak on issues going forward, when you're in the studio having a conversations like this, you must reflect on certain misguided information to mislead the public. Because we are speaking on this studio for the public to hear us and understand what the government is doing. Like you said, everything cannot be partisanship. Everything cannot be politics. But unfortunately, saying people have a way of speaking to issues where they mislead people to get angry. Bini Asaba Road is up and running. They are working in Bini Agba Road. They are working in Bini Abuja Road. The government of the those states has intervened in Bini Saple Road and is spending the money, some of the proceeds and gains from the subsidy that the state has increased their revenue working on those roads. I think it's a bit unfair to the current government, not just because of the party. You know that I speak objectively. I've spoken many a times against people in my party. I don't care.
Okay.
For me, the truth is stronger than any other thing. In those states, just a minute. In those
states, like you said, please, you still have the floor. Let's manage the time we have. Just like you said, there's no need for me to burden you too much with what has been said by Ibrahim. But let me ask you this question. We keep seeing the president saying that, the aspect of tackling hunger is an aspect of tackling poverty. Now, what do you see as the drive or the policies of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in bringing about diversification of the economy to eradicate poverty in the country?
Yeah, what I think is the drive that I can speak to right now is the fact that the presidency has made it very clear that governors should do more. If the governors are getting more money and they have the leverage to intervene within their local people through the local government much quicker, which is always the case on the tiers of government or maybe arms of government, whatever you want to call it, those extra money that is coming from the subsidy removal should be immediately spent in areas where it is biting most, in the areas of grants and soft loans or maybe interest-free loans, just like the state governor of Edo State did not too long ago. He gave market women loans that they didn't have to pay interest on. So this is the area I think the federal government is focusing on by increasing the money that the state governments are getting. Look, maybe 3-4 times forward. If they were getting 10 billion and they're getting like 30 or 40 billion, I think the federal government scheme is to use those governors to quickly reach out to the people to reduce the pains in this country caused by successive and many years of decay of lack of fiscal and monetary policy on how business and economics is run in this country.
Well, thank you, Etiosa. Let's give you some time to breathe a little bit and get to you, Emmanuel Obakpolo. We've been having all of these issues about, fair subsidy removal, and the president has always said that, more revenues are being given to, state governments. How does the people, or how can the people, participate fully in making sure that this extra money given to state governments are judiciously used? Or do you see gaps still, in the process of spending this money for projects that are yet to be seen in the state?
The gap is as wide as the Red Sea. Now, when you talk about the developmental attribute of a particular government, you must first look at the provisions of the Constitution. Chapter 2 of the extant Constitution provides for certain things that the government of the day ought to give to the people. One of them is security. You talk of education. You talk of welfare. Now, looking at as they are raising defenses for this regime, with respect to the president telling us that locally they will not go for any borrowing or borrowings, as the case may be. But the international borrowings or loan continues. I am asking, these borrowings, what project is it tied to? 1. 2, what is the economic value of that project that it is tied to? That's what me I'm asking. It is not just go to borrow money to say, oh, I want to borrow money to dualize Bini, Saple, Warri, Ugeli, Bayelsa, Port Harcourt Road. It is not just enough. What is the value? How do you recoup money from that project to pay back the loans? How do you do that? And that is the question. Then too, the transparency in the award of those contracts. How do you do it? Who are the persons who are the contractor? Legal persons now, talk of companies and others. Who are they? Let me tell you, everything we have seen from 2015 to date lacks transparency.
Okay, but let's look at, like I said, I asked you a question. Let's look at the subnational government. What do you see? Because fair subsidy removal has increased allocations. Do you see gaps, and what do you think can be done in terms of, the citizenry, marking all the projects to make sure that the extra money gotten, are properly utilized for the benefit of the people. Because a mention has been made about contracts being awarded. The Benin Saple Warri Road, for instance, that is just recently been worked upon. Heaven knows that it's been years that we've been praying for opportunities of such to come that way. And of course, there have been budgets year in, year out for that. And a lot of things have been going on wrongly. So how can the people participate fully to make sure that these monies are judiciously used and not misappropriated?
The people are helpless. You know why? Government has been lifted above the people. And I tell you, the Saple Warri Road, it took me 5 hours from Benin Bypass to Ologbo. 5 hours. The same road they are claiming that they are doing. On my way back from Bayelsa last week, the same problem. When it rains, you will know the beauty of that road. So let us not just go there by them telling us that this and that. But the thing is this. The situation is this is that we are advocating for a better government. We are advocating for a better life for Nigerians. Even the governors now who have so much money, what are they doing with it? If you take the governors to court, they will tell you the governors have immunity. Even when the court gives an order for the governor or the government of the state to make everything public, transparent, they will not obey it. And the court the hands of the court is tied to the back. So it's a pathetic situation we find ourselves. Because one, the constitution, the immunity clause in the constitution, the governors are abusing it. And that is why, because of the abuse on that, they become jobless. And they now see that the only thing they can do now is to go to the airport and bid the president farewell, bye-bye, and bid him welcome whenever he's going out and coming in. That is the only job they are doing. And for the people, we have some agencies who have now said, okay, let us make things to see how this process could be transparent to the people of Nigeria and the people of a particular state. Even when you take steps to ensuring that, it will work.
I'm talking about project monitoring.
Who monitors any project? Yeah. We have FEMA. We have the state governors. We have who monitors? They just claim that the governor went to monitor one project some days ago. Where did he go to do that? They say Saple Road. Where in Saple Road? And what did the governor say when he saw the situation, the plight of that road and the plight of the communities within that road? What was the comment of the governor?
Now let you bring us to you. In my tongue, you just give.
So his praises, you will see. So the situation is this. We should ensure that there's a better life for Nigerians, a better life for the regional people, so that we all someday will say, oh, once upon a time there was a government who impacted our lives and not a government who tormented us.
All right, let's take your reaction. I believe you've been waiting patiently.
No, you've given all the time to Barrister. Anyway, Barrister does not see what the borrowing is being used for, or even the subsidy.
No. Subsidy, fuel subsidy removal.
Now,
and what it has translated in Edo State, for instance.
Old Benin Saple Road, for decades, people have been crying. When are we going to have alternative to Saple Road?
Okay, you understand that?
Good. Okay. As I speak to
and do you also understand that there have been budgets year in, year out?
That is what I'm not saying. I said the people have been crying. I don't know. Budget is a piece of paper. Implementation is when the masses rejoices. Now, over the years, there probably have been piece of paper submitted to House of Assembly or National Assembly. But the empirical evidence is what makes the people rejoice. Today, in Old Benin Saple Road, the people are rejoicing. Okpebolo is building Old Benin Saple Road.
What happens to accountability and transparency?
I am coming, sir. I am coming. I want to take it in places where he gave his assertion. Now, they are already at Ogogobi community as I'm talking to you. Drainages at both sides. Being built just almost like the way they are building this May Saple Road. And that is applause. And it cut across over 30 communities. Already ongoing. Now, is that not a benefit? Now, when you talk about transparency, there are different departments that does their job. If the work of SON, are you expecting NAFDAC to infuse, or the job of ICPC? Are you now expecting NAFDAC to leave his own session and run there? And as a civil society person that we are, or civil society that exists, you can then go further. You know, when you see Sarab right today, Sarab right tomorrow, ask for documentation, you can see in many cases Sarab are being responded to. When they are not responded to, they go to court and say, why is this ministry not answering us? So let us not assume that everything those we did not vote for or those we did not like are doing are not good enough. Because I expect today that Obapolo or Barrister Obapolo would have talked about the massive flyover job that is going on in the masses quarter, which is Ikpobahi. If you have visited there in the recent time, you will ask yourself, is this possible in Edo State where we grow from? You can see the revolution going on in school sector, both in infrastructure and the otherwise. These are what we are talking about. You don't just do because we want people to applaud or they want people to applaud. They leave the real chapter that they are facing and they come to your session just for you to be happy. Government evolve. Government are in phases. He elucidated Saplero, but he forgot to tell us that from Benin to Bayelsa, there are almost 4 different contractors in different segments going and working simultaneously, even inside the rain. As I'm talking to you, my Oga refused to say it. He refused to tell us that even midnight on Saple Road today, the white men and the Chinese people there are working with a glare ball lights, even at night. That is where I built my house, in Saple Road. I come from Saple Road.
Right.
This morning I came here from Saple Road.
All right.
One part of Saple Road to a very long distance or kilometer has since been open. But the only problem we have are some of our bus drivers who will not know how to manage one section that is already open for them. You know, they pick passenger at will and block the whole road, and it's among within the masses. So this is not, it's not everything we call on government. Let us by ourselves organize and reorganize ourselves for us to have a better life. All of us want a better society. Nobody is, I do not come out to praise government because I want to praise government because I'm a party man.
All right.
I am saying it objectively.
All right, let's get to you, Ibrahim, a political economist. I always want to address you by what you do, lecturer, University of Abruzza University, Ekoma. Are you still there, please, Ibrahim? Let's quickly get your thoughts on how to go about, improving governance instead of, as in looking the other way, not necessarily going on the spree of borrowing. I understand you said, and basically it's in public domain, that to borrow isn't wrong, but what you use the money on is what matters. But what do you see as Nigeria going forward, as in going forward in terms of what can be done to reduce our dependence on borrowing externally? We'll do this after this short break. All right, Ibrahim, let's get you on in respect of what you see going forward in terms of the citizenry also participating in making sure that governance is key as regards, spending what is being borrowed judiciously. And of course, the aspect of reducing our dependence on borrowing both externally and internally. Ibrahim. Okay.
The first part of your question concerns how the citizens can participate to ensure that funds that are borrowed are judiciously spent. On that, I think that the citizens must realize that they are the critical stakeholder in any given society. So we follow the money. That's the language. If monies are being borrowed, no money is ever borrowed without a reason for borrowing. Earlier in the show, you talked about government borrowing about 1.59 trillion, if I'm not mistaken, recently. The money was tied to specific projects. Our people need to get the education, find out what is this money meant for, and find out if the government doing that thing. So the citizens, it's about following the money. That's the first thing we must do.
All right, thank you.
And then secondly, we must move beyond partisanship. The idea that everything is politics, all is fair in a politics, that we must criticize, the way to make a point is to criticize government. No. If government is doing poorly, highlight those things that the government is doing poorly in, and then criticize government for it. If government is doing one or two things rightly, And some governments are doing something right, though they are doing other things wrong.
Okay.
Those things that they are to be objective. Objectivity is key.
Thank you.
Be
Thank you,
objective
Ibrahim.
in those issues, in
Thank
those
you.
issues that
Thank you,
government have done
Ibrahim.
well.
Thank you, Ibrahim.
You
I'm
ask, you
afraid
ask
that's
two
the most
questions,
I can take
actually.
from you. Let's quickly go to Etusa Egebo. Your final words in 10 seconds, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just like I said before, with Barrister Abakbalo, he's a lawyer, he should know better. The Debt Management Office is there under the Public Information Act. He knows he can get that. He's a lawyer. Like I said from the beginning, I said nothing good will ever come out of Nazareth when it comes to him and his so-called euphoria of misleading the public on the issue of partisanship. I think Collins nailed it. He spoke about the flyover bridge. He spoke about the road in Sapele Road. He's a physical a person who lives
Thank
in
you.
the area who can say it. So Abakbalo can do the same.
Thank you,
Go
Etusa.
around and see all the
Thank
good
you,
things that the
Etusa.
governor of the state is doing.
Thank you so much.
Courtesy of
Thank
the
you so
support
much.
from the
And I
federal
wish you a
government.
beautiful day ahead of you. Let's quickly get your round off in 15 seconds, Emmanuel.
We anticipate that the government of the day should do better for Nigerians and stop borrowing.
Thank you.
My parting word, first, I want to appreciate Edo State government for working so hard to reform the security architecture.
You have 15 seconds.
I want to use our opportunity to really appeal that the local vigilante that have been put together to attach the police probably should be separated from the police, because with the recent development, I don't think the police is inculcating to them a good morals.
All right, thank you so much.
Because what we see on the road within the city center, I don't think it's good enough.
Big thanks. Okay.